yesterday. There's a poem, Mount St. Helens, which may not seem directly relevant to what we've been talking about, but it is, right? Because there's a young poet who dies dramatically in the volcano.
Right.
And you didn't know him that well, but you have such a powerful reaction to it. And I wouldn't say there's your dad's death operating again, but I think it would be interesting to talk about the lines themselves as part of what you do with Joel Colton's death, because you talk about teaching that poem, teaching the line, Joel Colton's line.
Right.
Do you mind reading it?
Yeah, sure.
It's on, you have your copy, it's on 251. Did anybody, Eileen reminded me that Joel Colton was a Philadelphia native. Anybody know Joel Colton?
There was Painted Brides that still exist. Yeah, he was involved. I mean, I think at a time when I couldn't get, they had a magazine, the Painted Bride Quarterly, and I just kept getting rejected. I never had a poem in there. So I was very aware of who was in there.
But what's so amazing about this poem partly is that it's not a, here's your, you want to just use mine? I'm embarrassed.
Sure.
I have markings, but
Thoughts.
that's okay. Not a lot. In that one,
Highlighting.
anyway.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. No. You don't. This is the only poem I'm going to let you see because there's so many that are. No, you're looking at other ones. It's an elegy, but you didn't know him that well, so it becomes something about teaching again, I think. But anyway.
Mount St. Helens. Joel Colton died right here. He was a poet. He visited me once in his car with a Polaroid camera. I got it somewhere. Portrait of Eileen by Joel Colton. I know I've got a picture of him. And you can see the landscape traveling by with some poets in their 20s. When I knew Joel Colton, I was younger then. It's a story, said Juliet. Yeah, all that lava. I don't think of him, but I use his lines all the time. I had this poem on my wall for a year. See, they get born on the left, I tell my class. It's a spine. I mean, Joel Colton's a snap of his nerves heading right, the infinity of his line, born, die. Every time the gesture is complete, Joel Colton, he died here.
You have this, there's the pedagogy again, we were talking about it a lot yesterday, but you're teaching your students the line. It's not about Joel's death, it's about what we have left of him. Every time we start a new line, it's born at the left. And dies at the right.
Right.
And the lines are really, your own lines are really short.
Right. But they don't necessarily do that. Mine tend to wrap around sometimes, too.
That's true.
It's just like John Ashbery was the person I guess I first noticed line breaks with, because I noticed he did two things. Like he either did the complete statement and the line ended at the line and the whole thought was there, or he did the wraparound. So it's sort of like, in effect, the right side of the margin was like flickering, which I always thought was so part of John's, like he gives these talks at NYU in the spring, and one of his talks is like about the cinema of poetry. But I think he's the most, I mean, for me, it's sort of like hopping around, leaping around within the poem. So much something I learned from him in many ways, because he just is very labile, you know.
He's also the great user of the word here, meaning what we're doing now, the writing.
Right.
And that poem ends with here, which is what's left of Joel in the lines that you teach your students.
I mean, and also it's just an interesting, I mean, I think it was, I wonder, was it Painted Bride? Anyway, some kind of tabloid-ish poetry magazine, which was on, you know, like, so it was on big sheets, newsprint and stuff.
Right.
And within the paper, they had a broadsheet of Joel Colton's poem, you know, and I remember, like, putting it on the wall of my first apartment in New York. And so this, you know, and as we know, it's like if you do that, if you put a poem on the wall, you just live with it. And it's so great. You just never read any poem as many times as you read that poem, you know. And that's when I noticed they just felt like waves. It was just like each one just was utter, you know, which was such a beautiful thing to do, which I once in a while I do it. You know, I've done it, but it was such a signature thing. And, you know, it was, of course, total accident, you know, moving around the world and being, I think I was reading in Seattle, and these young poets were giving me a ride to Portland, and they were like, there's Mount St. Helens. I was like, woo, you know. And then, of course, I always thought he died in lava, you know, but it's like mostly if you die from a volcano, it's asphyxiation. You know, it just creates such a huge amount of gas, and I learned that years later that it was, you know, because...
Did he, like, say, wow, this is a great place to hike because I'm going to go see did he walk into the mountain? I mean, did he...
Well, I'm sure
was
he was
that a
just
self-destructive move?
No, you would just go mountain climbing. Who knew it was going to be an eruption, right? I don't think anybody, you know...